every year I get a chance, and this is a fun night for me because it's going to be your expense, so bear with me for 1 second, I promise I'll be quick. Because for those of you who are coming up for your kindergartners to start next year, trust me, it does not get any easier. I got to leave and go pick up my 16-year-old from the tennis match tonight, so I'm going to try to be quick. But every year when I come up here, I always welcome everybody as the class of, in your case, it's the class of 2036. And I know that seems like a long way away, but there's something that I always tell everyone when I tell you that class. If all goes well, the next time you see me is when I'm handing your son or daughter their diploma and until high schools are walking across the stage. This is the only time, the first time and probably the last time I'm going to be able to say this. Hopefully you guys never see me because I'll be old enough to retire when your kids are walking across the stage, so you're on your own. But on a serious note, this is really quick, I promise, for those of you who are smart like me, you sat in the back, it's not interactive on my part, but how many of you are first time sending your oldest child to school? You didn't need to raise your hand, I can see the terror on your face. So trust me, it's going to be fine. We know what we're doing. You are in great hands. The most important person you're going to meet tonight is not me, not your child's principal. It's going to be Nurse Jess who comes up next, because for every bellyache or every she'll point you in the right direction. Our school nurses are an extension of you guys at home. But I will tell you, as not just doing this for more years than I like to count, but I was also, you guys in the chair, going through this with my own children, which I won't tell you how old they are. You'll figure out how old I am. But I specifically remember, now mind you, I do this for a living. So when my wife and I went to our first getting ready for kindergarten night for our oldest daughter, I know the anxiety and the butterflies you're having for your kids. And it's, trust me, the first day of school, it's going to be worse for you than it is for them. But when we got through the night, I do this for a living. For anybody who's still feeling anxious, medication works. It's going to be fun. I had to literally give my wife pills in order to calm her down. Now, the irony of the whole thing, they're 19 and 16. There will come a time, and remember this feeling now, while you can't wait, that you're nervous about sending a bus, and you gotta say goodbye, and they're gonna wave, that picture's gonna be in your head, where they're looking at you on the way off. That's going to come and go. 13 years are going to go by in a blink. They're going to go across the stage. You're going to feel it again when they leave 13 and a half years from now, when they either go off to college or go into the workforce or go into the military. I want you to remember 14 years from now. Because after all that, they're going to leave again, but then they're going to come home. And the feeling you have right now about you can't believe your babies are leaving you, trust me, there's going to come a day when you can't wait for them to get the heck out of your house. So, welcome. It's a great experience here. You're going to have a wonderful hands with everybody. You're going to get a bunch of information out. You don't need to memorize everything. We're always available. We treat you honestly, on a more serious note. We always refer, and I get criticized sometimes like this publicly when we talk about kids in the district. I always refer to them as our kids. You're going to hear from these guys talking about our kids, and anybody who has a badge, we refer to them, to our kids as our kids. They're your kids, but when they're here, they're our kids, and the motto of this district is we treat every kid like they're ours. So if that gives you any peace of mind and gets you excited about your son or daughter, and I see some of you in there, I won't see, maybe I'll sneak into graduation in 2036 when you guys come out. So, good night, thank you guys very much for coming.
Now we have Jessica Scara, the health director, and she will tell you all the requirements that are needed.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming today. I'm sure you have lots of questions, and I'll be happy to answer any of them for you. To start out with, in order to register for school, you will have to provide a physical for your child. That will have to be dated after September 1st of 2022, so this past September. If your child has had a physical since then, but you don't have the blue form, just call your doctor's office and ask to pick up a copy of it. I believe there is a copy of the blue form in your folders. If not, they can get it offline. And don't worry if we call it the blue form, but it's printed on regular white paper. That's okay too. I promise you. For those students who are at Head Start and STO, and Middle English and Montessori that are already enrolled, as we said, they would automatically be enrolled in kindergarten. They don't need to produce a new physical at that time. The ones that they had previously will carry over for you. Be aware that there are a couple immunizations that they do need after their 4th birthday. So if their last physical was before their 4th birthday, they will need to get those immunizations prior to starting school in September. Those immunizations will have to be another dose of, or make sure the DTaP and the polio were given on or after their 4th birthday. And they will need a second dose of the varicella and the MMR before starting in September. Also, if your child needs to take medications during the school day, we do require a med authorization form that both you and the provider will have to sign. You can find a copy of that form online, or you can reach out to your school and have the nurses at the school email it to you. We do have a PDF form as well. All of those forms and medications can be dropped off during kindergarten orientation or the first few days of school as well.
So at this time, we are going to introduce the principals and the vice principals at each school. And just to give you note, at the end, when we are all done with our session and everyone's done their presentations, we are going to break up into schools. So Hazardville Memorial will be over there, Enfield Street will be here, Henry Barger will be over there, and whatever district your child is going to, you can step up and speak to them and ask them any questions.
I have a few things that were handed to me. There are always a lot of questions, especially with a group that has this many first-time kindergarten parents. Mr. Dresnick is correct. Just call if you have questions. It's a stressful time for you. My youngest is still in elementary school, so I remember how it feels. My oldest is a junior in high school, and I can remember telling myself, you talk the talk every day, I have to walk the walk. So if you have any questions, just reach out. Somebody will help. That's what we're here for. So once you've registered online, and that's for families who are not currently enrolled in a PK program, a Board of Ed PK program. What you will do, once you finish that paperwork, your school will contact you, one of the secretaries, and set up to make an appointment. We don't have a definite date yet for kindergarten registration to come in. But you'll have the opportunity to meet with the school nurse. They'll kind of go over what you need. We'll have a little activity, so we'll get to know your child a little bit while you fill out the remainder of your paperwork with the help of the secretaries. We may have a couple of other specialists around. It's going to be in small groups. There will only be a handful of students and families at the same time. Wow, I haven't had an audience this big in a long time. Pre-COVID, I apologize. Let me take a breath. All right. So again, we don't have a date for that. It's going to be in May, but we'll be reaching out shortly once the registrations start rolling in. Another big question that we often get: when are you going to find out who your child's teacher is? And that's a big one, right? Usually, the mailings for class lists go out the second week or so of August, and with that, you'll also get an invitation to the kindergarten orientation. Each school will hold their own kindergarten orientation, where you'll get a chance to take a look at the classroom, meet with the teachers, play on the playground. Occasionally, and in the past, we've used the bus company to have your child's first bus ride. Many students who are coming to kindergarten have not ridden the bus, and even if your child is going to be dropped off and picked up, it'll be a good experience for them to get on, learn the rules of the bus, take a little ride around the block. So with orientation, like I said, you'll have an opportunity to see the classroom. The nurses will be there again. If they're missing any paperwork, you'll have the opportunity to hand it in at that time. You'll have the opportunity to ask any of your principals or assistant principals questions that you may have, things that have come up over the summer. Bus schedules, if your child is going to ride the bus. That information will come out by bus stop, by street, so that will be available well in advance. One thing that I'll say, and you'll hear about this at orientation as well, is that the first week or so, sometimes the first 2 weeks, plan to be at your bus stop a little bit early, maybe 10 minutes, and plan to stay maybe 10 minutes late from the time that's listed. Because there are a number of things that can happen. Some drivers are still learning routes. Some families are dropping off at the first 2 days of school, so there are fewer students, which means fewer stops, so it might arrive a little bit earlier, but that usually normalizes in the first couple of weeks. just call. That's what we're doing. All right. So, without further ado, we're going to do presentations. All right.
So this is the exciting part, because you took the time to come tonight, you get a sneak peek at a couple of the kindergarten teachers who are going to do a presentation tonight. So from Henry Barnard, we have Leah Dow. And from Hazel Memorial, we have Christine Uslow. And from Enfield Street, Taylor Pusta.
I'm Taylor Pusta. I'm born and raised in Enfield, and I'm trying to do here when I was at JFK, so welcome. The first thing that we wanted to do this evening is we wanted to kind of give you a snapshot of all the major things that we do in our day. The kinds of areas that we focus on are the things that we all did: reading, math, writing, social studies, science, and the main one that I like to talk about is executive functioning, but I know Christine's going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. It looks like a lot, and we do a lot in kindergarten. But these are some of the overview things that we do accomplish throughout the year to get our kids ready for first grade. So take a deep breath. Your kid's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We like to kind of take tonight to remind you to build a routine. You could start it now or even over the summer. But if you have a solid day routine and nighttime routine, it makes your kids' day sweet. Letting them know what to expect, what does school look like, letting them know, like, it's almost bedtime, we gotta get ready for school tomorrow, maybe picking out clothes or having them help pack their lunches and snacks. Those are all great ways to get them excited and eager to go to school the next morning. It's all gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay. So this is our kindergarten schedule. Like I said, we do a lot in our day. One thing that we really try to focus on is staying to our schedule. I know a lot of us use actual visual schedules in our classrooms. It helps our youngest learners know what to expect. So they would come in, we still are serving breakfast this year, not sure what next year's gonna look like with eating, but we serve breakfast in the room, and it's free as of right now. We go right into our morning meetings where we do attendance, see who's here for the day, do our pledge, have the kids sign in so that they're recognizing their name, meeting that with like lunch, they would sign in for home lunch or school lunch. Then some other things that we do in our day are readers workshop, writers workshop, math. Those can all kind of be interchanged throughout the school day. We do have an afternoon recess typically, but you could have a morning recess, and the same thing with snack. Depends on when it's fitting into our schedule. But it is important to pack a snack and a water bottle for each of your kids. We travel to a special each day, and we have a playtime in kindergarten. It's usually the kids' favorite part of the day. But it's a great time for them to be social, interact with their friends, and just have fun and learn how to be a human. So these are some pictures from my classroom, actually. This is some students doing Readers and Writers Workshop. It's a great time to build the foundational skills that we know our readers need. So from the beginning of the school year, we're working on a lot of letter ID, name writing, name identification. But these pictures are from currently, so we've got kids writing their own books, illustrating and writing the words to go along with their stories. We do have iPads as of the pandemic. Our kids use our iPads independently and with partners. And they get to enjoy activities and games together as well. For our math in Enfield, we use a program that's designed to get kids ready for first grade. Again, it's all hands-on with manipulatives integrated with technology at the same time. So our kids have an opportunity to get up around the room through math centers. They might be doing crafts throughout the day where they're cutting and gluing and ordering and working on number identification. But I call my kids mathematicians. They're hoping to build lifelong mathematicians. But in kindergarten, it's really important that we have them building with their hands with manipulatives in order to help with that counting and number identification, number sense. Our kids do travel to a special every single day. We have PE, art, music, computers, library, and STEAM. It's really neat to see how excited they get to go to these fun places around the school. We will drop them off, and they'll stay with that specialist or that teacher for the time block, and the teachers come back and pick them up. first couple days I always just tell them, I'm coming back, don't worry. But they have so much fun. They get to engage with their friends in different ways that they don't get to do in the classroom. It's movement and being artistic and stuff like that.
I might have a little bit more to say than she does. There's a lot of information on the next few slides. And the first one is about executive function skills, and you probably hear a lot about that over the years. And you're probably wondering, well, what exactly are executive function skills, and why are we teaching them in kindergarten? Why are they so important? So we're actually going to play you a little video from YouTube to help explain what executive function skills are. So.
We're not born with the skills we need to get things done successfully, especially in this vast and complicated world. But here's the good news. The skills we need can be taught, and they form a foundation for self-regulation and help build social, emotional skills. Grouped together, 3 of the most foundational are called executive functions. Executive functions are a set of 3 cognitive skills: flexible attention, working memory, and inhibitory control. When complex things are happening around us, executive functions help us stay on task, make plans, set goals, and carry them out successfully. They act like a traffic flagger, intentionally managing and coordinating many things at once, like helping drivers and pedestrians stay safe and making sure they obey the rules of the road. Flexible attention allows us to shift our attention when necessary, directing it to the most important tasks and sustaining it while we're working on them. Flexible attention allows us to switch focus quickly from one thing to another. Working memory is the ability to remember and use important information, like driving directions. Working memory allows us to store important information so we can access it when needed. Inhibitory control is the ability to pause and think before we act. It helps us resist impulses. It keeps us on task and helps us set goals and carry them out. Executive functions help students learn and be successful in school, solving math problems, following directions, reading, playing sports, and resolving conflicts. These skills will last a lifetime and be used every day in school, at work, and at home. They're a vital part of an education that teaches the whole child.
So there are a lot of activities that we do throughout our day that help build those executive function skills, and one of the most important ones is our morning meeting. And you might have your child come home and tell you about everything that they've done and they've played during morning meeting. And you can see that some of them listed up there: the linear calendar, morning message, daily schedule, mystery word, freeze dance, question of the day, graphic practice, and it's up there twice, question of the day. All right, you can turn to the next one. You can see there's some pictures here these are all from my classroom showing what the students do throughout the day to work on those executive function skills. Too loud. You can see them here doing freeze dance, which is an activity where you might show them a position with their hands maybe on their head. You turn on the music, hide your card, turn the music off, and they have to remember, they have to hold it in memory that they have to do that position. A lot goes on. During morning meeting, we take that. Play centers, like Taylor said, is one of the most fun times of our day. That's a time when we really are practicing executive function skills, but not just that. During playtime, they're practicing all parts of the curriculum. They're retelling stories by having puppet shows. They are developing their language skills, having conversations with each other. They are playing games, using their strategies that they know. They're also using the scientific process. You can see we have There's always some sort of a discovery center in the classrooms, and they're going through using the scientific process. We also usually have math manipulatives out, so they are learning how to count, how to sort, how to and add items together, a lot of those things going on. They're definitely working on their writing skills because at the beginning of the playtime period, they will take out a play plan and they'll make a plan about what they're going to do when they're playing in that center. And often they will plan with a friend, will say, hey, I'm going to go to blocks. Do you want to go to blocks with me? Let's build a tower together. So they both sit down with their play plan and they draw and write about what they're going to be playing. Let's see, there's also usually a library in here. I don't see it in here right now. I don't have a picture of it, but that's also a great center where the children go in. They read on their own, they're practicing all of the skills that they've learned during our mini lessons. The next one is the play scenarios, and it's also done at playtime, but it's a little bit different. During play scenarios, the classroom will be set up as something that might be happening in the community. And as you can see in some of my pictures here, we had an amazing weather center in our classroom this year where the students were able to, they were able to be reporters. And every day they would report the weather to each other. And during that time, they would use their iPads, bringing in technology and creating their own videos and then showing them to the rest of the class. And that was pretty cool. I know in our school this year, we were lucky. We brought in Channel 61 Weather Tracker to culminate our unit, and so that was pretty awesome. You can also see that we have a farm going on, so it kind of brings us the idea of Enfield having so many farms. We talk about those. It also just depends upon the interest of the children. I know it could be completely different in all of the schools. All right, this is, we no longer have a LEGO teacher specifically, but we do have a LEGO curriculum that the teachers use, and they incorporate it into all parts of their day. You can see here we have our SEL, which has our emoji Legos, where we do a social emotional learning lesson, and the children get to create the people to act out their the lesson. It's changing on its own, that's fine. Yeah. So we do a lot of imaginary challenges with our Legos as well. And you can see up here, this was something they had to create something that would fly, or they had to take their Legos and make the tallest tower that they could. And then there's one over there with the gold coins. They had to create a leprechaun trap. This is what I was just talking about with imaginary challenges. A few years ago, we were all given carts that are full of anything creative you can imagine. So all of the schools across the district have them. And the children will be given, they'll be given a challenge or a problem. And using all those materials, they have to come up with a solution. For example, one of the pictures up here shows that it was very sunny out and the cows were too hot. So they had to create a shelter so that the cows could go underneath and cool down. Recess, of course, is their most favorite time of the day, but it's not just a time to play. It really is a time for learning, where they're, again, using those executive function skills, where they are planning what they're going to do outside with their friends. They're using that working memory when they go out onto, say, the slide and it's hot. Oh, I've done this before, where I burnt myself. I am not going down that slide. They're definitely getting out all of their energy so that they're able to come back into the classroom and really focus on what we're doing throughout the day.
I'm Leah Dow from Henry Garner. So your children are coming to kindergarten, and I know you're all as nervous as we are the first day. So there's a lot you can do to get them ready. And the one thing I'm going to tell you is it's less important for them to know the letter sounds and rhyming, math and counting to 100, than it is for your children to learn how to be independent, to have self-confidence, to know how to take care of themselves and things around them. And that is going to help propel them forward in their academics. So here we're learning how to build independence, teaching children how to put on their coats and their gloves and their backpacks and their hats. So when your children come into our classroom and there are little bits, don't worry. And as the superintendent said, Mr. Desick said, they are our children all day. So we're going to help you teach them this, but we have to teach them how to put on their jackets and flip. So I just want you to imagine 18 children. It's gotta help me. So if you can help them do these things, we can help them with the other things. And they're gonna come in and unpack their backpack, and then they're gonna have to zip it back up and hang it up and hang their jackets and find their morning work. So a lot of things you can do is teach them all the independence. Give them choices, what clothes to wear, give them 2 choices. I often will tell parents the jobs that we have in my classroom, and every child gets a classroom every week and they fight over the jobs, so I just rotate them so nobody can argue. And they're cleaning tables, and they're stacking chairs, and they're the trash person, which means they go around and pick up the trash on the floor. And then parents go, I can't get them to put their shirt in the washer. Oh, they love jobs. So these are all things that will instill responsibility and help children to be able to go throughout the day and work as a community. So everyone's going to want to be able to do this. Teaching practical skills. When you have your children come to school, they're going to have to be able to put their own pants and button them. So buttons, make sure they can use those buttons and use the restroom independently. In the beginning, we will take them as a group and we'll show them where it is, and we talk about how to use it and how we wash our hands and sing our songs and use 2 pumps of soap. But eventually, at least at Barnard, not all classrooms have a bathroom. So they will walk down the hall and they'll use it and they'll come back. Tying their own shoes, really hard for kindergartners. Oftentimes, if you can practice with that at home, that's very helpful. We tie our own shoes throughout the day. And opening snacks without help. I know that it was Taylor who said, make sure you're sending a snack every day in a water bottle. Sending in something that's really hard for them gets them frustrated. Sometimes they're sitting there waiting, or we're trying to help everyone. So if you can have them learn how to do that, that prepares them for kindergarten. And it also gives them self-confidence. And it makes them feel independent and makes them feel good about themselves. The more they can do, the better they feel.
There's nothing worse than 18 kids saying, hey, you're gonna go fish. So we practice a lot of pinch and pull, use scissors, trying to find independent ways they can help themselves.
17 juice boxes with little straws. That I still have yet to figure out how to put through without poking out the back. So I just got the corners now. Give me a straw. And then in order to really prepare your kids, one of the greatest things you can do is to talk about school positively. Come to the schools this summer. Use the playgrounds. Walk around, look in the buildings, say, oh, is this your classroom? Get them really excited about it because they're going to feed off your energy. When my daughter's about to graduate high school, but when my daughter was getting ready for kindergarten, I went and visited, and we walked around and guessed which room she was going to be in, what her teacher's name might be, and I talked about how fun it was, how she was going to go to gym. And I dropped her off at school, and she didn't even say goodbye. I cried the whole way home and wanted to call the entire day so she was okay. But that's because I built independence, responsibility, and I built up her confidence, and she was so excited to go to school. So they will take your feelings. So here's some activities you can do. Build with Legos. Those are great for them, the fine motor skills. It helps their hand-eye coordination. You can give them a challenge if you want. You can say, hey, you know, it's raining outside. How can we help ourselves? They can build an umbrella, play board games, learning how to take turns is a big one coming into kindergarten. Please and thank you. Magnets are a lot of fun. I know we have the fridge magnets with the letters on them. The kids like to build their name. You could have them build their name. Being able to recognize your name coming into kindergarten is very helpful. They don't have to write it or know how to spell it. Just recognize it. Pretend play. I used to have a ton of stuff for my daughter to dress up. She's like being a firefighter. Now she wants to be a teacher. But in the beginning, she wanted to be a firefighter. Investigate nature. There's nothing better. That is the most beautiful classroom in the world, is to be outside and talk about leaves and animals and different seasons and weather and all of that. You can cook together. That's got math. That's got directions. That's 1, 2, 3 steps. Play Play-Doh, that's when you doesn't like Play-Doh. And read. And the more you read to your children, research will tell you, the more they're going to be able to read. They get exposed to, I can't remember my statistic right now. It's 100,000 more words by the time they're five or something like that. If they're read to every day, 100,000 more vocabulary words. I used to know this by heart. So, lots of things you can do to get them because this is all stuff we do in kindergarten every day. It's not just academics. Academics is built into all of this. And there's a couple of things I didn't say at the beginning, but I will say it now. Kindergarten is the foundation for the next 12 years of your child's life. And we're not just doing academics. We are building a whole child. We're not just working on math and reading and science and social studies. We're working on social skills. We're working on how to do 3-4-step directions. We're talking about how do we treat other people. Are we kind? Are we respectful? I'm just kidding. There's never rocking talking. So we want to work with you as a partnership, and we are. I promise you, your children are our children. I mean, there's nothing I want more than you parents to work with me. So please feel comfortable after first day sending them in, knowing that we're on the other side waiting for them with a smile. And there'll be a lot of people ready to do them. And that's it.
Now I'm assuming some of you have some questions. Amy?
How many students are there usually per classroom?
Average?
About 15 to 20.
So the question was, how many students are usually in a class? And Christine says it averages about 15 to 20. And that's single with no aid or other questions?
What's the first day of school?
When is the first day of school? August 29th, which is a Tuesday, the children go back. Yes. So the question was, I don't know who wants to take what time the school day starts.
So they start 8:40 to 8:55, and then it's 8:55 to 2:21.
So 8:40, their school day
They
starts.
start to drop off at 8:40 to 8:55, and then the school day starts at 8:55.
Okay, did you hear that? And pickup?
3:21.
3:21. Okay. Perfect. All right, other questions? Yes? Do the primary schools offer before and after?
Yes. Yes and no.
All right, that's a great question. So we do have before and after care in the buildings. They're done through ERS. So it's a private community organization that works with partnership with the schools. We also have ECPC that provides before and after care over at Stowe.
So how would a parent find out the information?
What we can do is when you come in to register, we can have that information ready for you. And look either one of those organizations up.
And there's a small fee.
There's usually a sliding scale.
What was that first one you said?
ERFC.
Is there a certain amount of children that can only do those programs, like?
Space for I think ECPC is probably limited over at Stowe. However, realistically, we use our gym, we use our all-purpose room/cafeteria in several classrooms in the buildings. So if they need additional seats, they hire additional staff.
There's AM and PM for sure.
Does that apply to school vacation as well?
Yes and no. They provide programs where they wouldn't be based in the buildings. Usually during vacations, our buildings are closed.
Do the students have a rest time?
No. They don't. So it is a long day, especially the first few weeks. Students who transition from one of, even a private PK program, and they're used to having a rest time or a nap time. It is an adjustment. However, the first couple of weeks of school, we do have some quiet times that independent play
using for reading curriculum and what we're switching to for reading?
So right now, we're a Hawkins district, so we use Lucy College, so we use Teachers College. For both reading and writing,
We will be vetting a new program. We applied for the extension, so the next year will be the vetting process with a new program going in the 24-25 school year, right? We're talking 24. Okay, so 24-25. We're narrowing it down to a few, and we'll be going through a vetting and pilot process throughout next year. So, yeah.
Yes.
I know with my daughter's preschool, her activity gets kind of added to this app, this Dojo. Is that anything that we should know about or something like that? Like, is that part of it?
Absolutely. So right now, we have a few different apps in the district for communication between families, the school, and classrooms. Next year, we'll be using it exclusively an app called Remind, and there'll be all kinds of information that will come out to you before the school year starts.
And some of the pre-K programs are already using Remind, and some classes, if you have older children, which you don't. A lot of you don't, but some of the elementaries are already using it, but there's also some some sporadic pre-K programs, so you might be a parent who already is using Remind in preschool.
And Remind is very similar to Dojo.
Yep.
Thank you.
What type of policies or models do you guys use, like for behavioral policy in children?
We're a PBIS district, so positive behavior interventions and support, so we use that in a tiered model of intervention. We're very proactive in teaching our expectations and redirecting students in a positive way. Very often, students who need the most reminders, unfortunately, hear it in what could be a negative way, more often than they should. So we really focus on pre-teaching those expectations and making sure that they're redirected in as positive a way as possible. We also have a big focus on social emotional learning within the buildings, and that helps out quite a bit as well. Yes?
I know, I can't remember if K through 2 does SBAC testing.
No.
We do not. We do not. You have 3 years to take a deep breath. But I will say that when they go to 3rd grade and that starts, they'll be ready. Yes?
Is it peanut free or are the kids allowed to bring a peanut butter?
We're not peanut free.
We are not peanut free, we're a peanut friendly school. So our K through 2 schools, or our K through 5, all in the grade 5 do not serve anything with peanuts in them. But we cannot do peanut-free classrooms. We'll need, if there is a child that has an allergy in the classroom, we do send letters home with suggestions and request that parents not send in peanut options. And we do have peanut-free tables in the cafeteria as well. So we do, and they're separate, and they're away from the trash barrels, so there's no cross-contamination there.
Yeah, we work really hard with food allergies. They're pretty common. So we want to make sure that everybody's safe. So yeah, there's a lot that's in place.
No, that's the only thing my kid needs is peanut butter.
He can still eat peanut butter. Yes.
How long do they have to eat lunch?
Half hour. And to be honest, most kids are done in 5 minutes. It becomes a bit of a social time, which is really is nice. Yes. It varies from school, and it can vary from year to year. Right now at Henry Barnard, the kindergartners have the last lunch wave, and that's to give them an entire morning of instruction, and it works out really well. However, even if your child does have the last lunch wave in their building, they have snack beforehand, so they don't have a long stretch where they're hungry.
And they have breakfast too?
Yes, there is breakfast available at school. This year it's free, as well as the lunches. I'm not sure if that will extend into next year. That came out of COVID funding. So it just depends on, and that's a state decision. Yes?
Do you guys offer special services if the child needs speech therapy?
Yes, we have specialists in every building. Every student gets what they need. Yes?
This might vary school to
Each school does it a little bit differently, but there are procedures put in place, whether it's a tag on a backpack that matches up to a little button that has the student's room number and bus number. But there are things that we'll discuss during our kindergarten orientations in August. We want them to be as comfortable as you are, or as you will be.
We practice too. I know at Phil Street, like the first day, we have multiple things that we practice: how to act in the lunchroom, how to get to your bus stop, and we literally leave our classroom and travel and walk. This is where you're going if you're a pickup. This is where you're going if you're a bus. And we usually do it again right before the end of the day too, because it's their first time. It's nervous. It's nerve-wracking.
There's a lot of modeling that way.
Yes.
That's part of our PBIS program, is that, we have students that, learn how to, what the expected behavior in the library is. And we do that by walking to the library and role-playing some things that could happen in the library. We do that on the playground. We do that for dismissal, for arrival. And we really make it kind of engaging.
You
Yes.
know, in our building, everything is color-coded. Everything's color-coded. Every teacher, kindergarten teachers, my color's yellow, so I'm dressed in yellow. Every tag that the child has is yellow, so they always know where they're going, and every teacher, we've started doing the same thing. So, all they have to know is their color, and they'll find their way.
And all hands on deck. There's every staff member in the building who's not in the classroom is on it, and on every kindergartner, so don't worry.
Yeah, those first couple of weeks, there's a lot of support.
It's not just the first day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for the buses, I know I've seen buses pick up at our daycare. Like, how do we sign up for that bus number to pick up at our daycare? Like, they pick up at 2 locations, I think.
Yes. So that's something that we do through the bus company,
Okay.
through the registration process. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes.
If your child is struggling with a peer in his or her classroom, what's the most appropriate way to report it? Like, go to the classroom teacher?
Absolutely. Very often. Yeah.
What's the best way as a parent to talk
To
about it?
approach the classroom teacher, whether use remind, an email, a phone call. They know the students best, and then they work with you and the children to make sure that is right there. But very often, especially in the beginning of the year, while the kids are still getting used to the adults in the building, they may not say anything to the adult. So part of what we teach is self-advocacy, so that if they speak up, if there is a problem, so that we can deal with it at the moment. As parents of young children, you know that if you wait till the next day, it's like it never happened to them. So, we want to address it right away. Yes.
So for the first couple days, we can do drop-off even if our child is a bus student?
Yes, and each school will have a different drop-off procedure, and we'll discuss that in our individual kindergarten locations. We all have different layouts, and our parking lots look different, so that they're very individualized. Yes?
Do schools have any sort of security protocols or anything like that? Like either not say a trooper or something like that? I know Enfield Public School usually has a trooper and such.
So we have several layers. First, right now we have a security guard in each building. And they're based there all day while the students are there. They answer the door, they walk the perimeter, they do checks. So that's our first level, right? We also share police officers who travel from building to building daily. And they hit each building multiple times. And again, they just are visible, and they're there if we need them. In addition to that, and we'll get into this again at quick kindergarten orientation, there's a sign-in procedure. There's if you're picking up your student, there's another procedure to make sure that the right student is going with the right person. And again, it's all individualized by school. At Barnard, we use a special pickup card. It's a bright color. It has a raised seal on it. Each family will get a couple copies or more if requested, because some families have grandpa pick up on Monday and Tuesday. And I pick up on Wednesday, and on Thursday and Friday, they may go on the bus. So we work with each family to make sure that, that we have everything in order. But yes, the security is tight.
And the other piece too is just so you know, because sometimes people reflect on this piece, but we may ask your ID, for your ID every single time. Even if we know you, we're going to ask for your ID every single time. Those are some of the procedures in place. We don't take anything for granted. So please just, you know, sometimes there are a couple extra steps, but to that point, that's why, because we want to make sure that we hand everybody off appropriately and we keep all the kids safe.
And the doors are locked at all times as well.
Yes. Go ahead.
Is there a date for the orientation?
Not yet, but it's usually the week before school starts, and we'll get you. We send that date out. Usually when we send out some of the class lists, we send out information about the actual orientation date. Usually we try to have something in the morning, usually about an hour. And as Mr. Graham said, it's something where we'll give a presentation, and then the kids will go off and meet their classroom teachers and get a tour of the school, and kind of get acclimated to their classroom at that point.
I know this may change, but daycare has like sick kid procedures, right? You have to be vomit free for so long or whatever else. With COVID, we've had all kinds of extremes. Do you guys have like kind of a standard procedure? Is it still kind of varying depending on what's happening?
I'll turn that over to the expert.
Yeah, so the COVID procedures right now are still all the same. You have to isolate for the 5 days and then return after that. For their standard illnesses, you have to be vomit and diarrhea free for 24 hours before returning to school. You have to be fever free for 24 hours before returning to school. If you have strep throat, you have to be on antibiotics for 24 hours. Little things like that. We do have a health manual that will be at the schools during your kindergarten orientation for your nurses to hand out as well. That has all of that information in it for you. We didn't want to give it to you ahead of time in case it would get lost because it's a very small piece of paper. So we'll have it at kindergarten orientation for you as well. And it has all of that information in there.
And I just want to double back quick on the security piece. Make sure as you go through that your PowerSchool information is updated and accurate. Sometimes if somebody else comes to the school and says that they want to pick up, and if they're not on that list, we're not going to release them. We're going to call you and make sure. So make sure that list is very accurate with, you know, who can pick up, who can have information. We follow that very exactly. And if there's any, you know, if we're not sure at all, obviously we hold on to them. We reach out to you and make sure. But just when you go there and get that registration, make sure that that information is accurate with who can pick up and those kind of details. Go ahead.
So what if you have concerns about your child and you request an IEP or to have evaluations done due to concerns? What is your procedure?
Well, it's some of it is a case-by-case kind of a scenario where we have conversations individually about kind of what those concerns are. I mean, the first place always is to start with the classroom teacher. When you start to have those concerns, have that conversation, kind of go through the year, start to have, you know, as we start to go through some assessments and get some information and kind of find those different things. I mean, the reason I say case-to-case is there's different reasons why, you know, that you might be concerned. But, you know, I start with those conversations with the classroom teacher, and then as we go forward, we do have teams in place in the buildings that can talk and review based upon your concerns and make those recommendations from there.
If a child has to stay home sick for any sort of reason, do we need to let the teachers know ahead of time via the app or whatnot, or do they just not show up for attendance, if you will, and they just know?
Yeah, always contact the office.
Okay.
And always let the office know, because if not, the office will be tracking you down. So we'll calling all those numbers through PowerSchool to see, you know, where your child is and you know, why they're out. So the best thing is just to call the school. If you want to relay it to the teacher, but the primary is to call the front office and let them know, because they're the ones doing attendance and they're the ones that will make those calls to find out why your child is absent. Go ahead.
How are the parents notified if there's an emergency? Like not just for like my child, but like school-wide or, you know,
Yeah,
how are they notified of that?
We have a couple. We have some different formats of communicating out. Mine is going to be one of them that will be able to go go out to all our parents. As you go, you'll hear also some announcements for different things that we're able to basically push out that communication to all your phones and everything else. So we do have those systems in place for different emergencies that is linked to all your notification. Once again, this is where I say make sure your information is accurate in PowerSchool, because a lot of those databases populate through PowerSchool in those numbers. So we want to make sure that those go out correctly. But we have a couple of different ways that we can kind of reach out to everybody in case of those different situations. Go ahead.
Is there like certain times, like for weather-related things that other than listening to the news or the radio, that we'll get alerted on
Yeah.
your phone or something?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Absolutely, you'll get those.
It's the same system.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll get those cancellation calls. Usually don't get this many questions, so keep going. It really is. That's why we're here. And afterwards, too, if you want to come over, sometimes people have individual questions that you don't want to announce in the group. So that's why we're here. We'll be here for a few minutes afterwards, too. So come on over if there's something individual that you want to ask about. We'll be here in front, too, for some of those questions if you have them. But as Mr. Graham said, please call the school. We work during the summer, so we'll be able to be there if you have any things, especially, if you have those concerns building up. But look for that information that comes out. That'll answer a lot of questions as we go.
It's Michelle.
Yeah.
Come on up. So some of you are probably wondering how the lady over here is answering so many questions. So Michelle Middleton is the Chief Academic Coordinator for our schools. So she puts a lot of it together, and that's why she can answer so many of the questions and took the time with everyone here to come out tonight. And Jay? Okay. All right. I'm not gonna... Lamesa. Is the kindergarten through 12th math coordinator. So if you have any questions about that, the teachers did a great job explaining what the curriculum will look like, but it's wonderful that all of you took the time tonight. And we appreciate you coming out to hear this, and this is exciting times for all of you. A little bit nervous, but exciting times. But like you can hear, they are here for you. They're all of our kids, so come up and ask some more questions. But we truly appreciate you taking the time tonight, and thank you. Have a fun summer, get them ready to everything that was on the PowerPoint, and we'll be golden. So thank you again.